Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Pamela, Patricia, and Peter. 1968, Part 152. 20689, Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, March 18th, 1968. Dear Mother, I'm glad to hear that you are feeling better, but sorry that you have decided not to join us on our trip. John said that he thought it seemed like it would be just what you needed and the best thing in the world for you. Of course, we are prejudiced, and it is the high point of the year. We are going to the same island as last year. We fly out of Nassau, Bahamas, south to a little island in the Exumas, Cistern Key. We think it is the most beautiful part of the world, and our island is listed as the most beautiful island in the Exumas. It is a 165-acre island owned by the millionaire Mr. Will C. Grant from Chicago, who was there for a few days last year. There are only 2 houses on the island, and the only other persons are the caretaker and cook. It is a real paradise. The island is in the Sea Park, which has been set aside by the Bahamian government to be preserved, if possible, from fishing. No other islands are being sold, although the next one sold for $2.5 million, but it was privately owned. We realize that it is an expensive holiday. The rent covers the house, boat, caretaker, guide, cook, etc., and we are in effect renting a whole island, plus airfares for our 6 and chartered seaplanes. Supplies in Nassau are doubly expensive, so that it is several $1,000s, an equivalent of a European jaunt, but we feel it's much more beneficial. I'm at the point where I don't think I'd last a winter without our spring sun. The family health has been so much better since we began these. I could send you the extra $100 difference in your airfare if that would help, or make any difference, but we feel this is such a wonderful trip, no one should be forced to go. John's mother called last evening. They will be over Friday, and she will stay with Mark until he flies down by himself, April 4th. John has another seaplane chartered to bring him in then. We realize that the weather will be nicer this next month, but not swimming weather. The new liturgy is the new communion service, and we had the first one in the homes here. I baked the bread and bought the wine. I used our new vanity with linens for the altar, and the priest had John and I bring in the bread and wine. My forsythia was out. I have new every week, so it was very nice. We discussed the new service after communion. There is a handshake in it, kiss of peace, where we send a handshake throughout the congregation. We did it here. It is a more joyful service and attempts to get away from the penitential, mourning, guilty beginning. Patty had another piano recital. She goes right at it. Shard took me to a lovely champagne luncheon and style show, the Shakespeare Festival. We have meetings steadily until we go, but decided to forego a few. I spent yesterday packing. Have Pam, Patty, and Peter done, Mark almost, and John has the swimming equipment almost ready. We are getting Mark a prescription underwater mask. They asked us to show our movies at school again last week. Mark went Boy Scout camping this weekend. The doctor sent me to the laboratory for blood tests, but haven't heard. I'm probably okay. Patty's Girl Scouts had an international dinner, so I took a Hawaiian salad, pineapple cut in half, and pineapple mixed with strawberries. We've ordered some of the Bahamian pineapple. Jean Barth had a baby girl Thursday after the luncheon. I had a nice letter from Bud, also Elsie. Take care of yourself. I'm sorry you're not coming with us. We had our bathroom marble vanity installed finally. God bless. Love, Ruth. 20689, Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, March 19th, 1968. Dear Mother, I am enclosing a copy of the new liturgy for you to see. It really was quite an experience and privilege to have the first communion in our home. Of course, I feel that we do have a truly blessed home. We are especially blessed in having John. He is our backbone and stabilizer. We do attend church every Sunday, the whole family, and he just doesn't let us consider the prospect of not going. I sometimes feel that we love him even more, if that's possible, when we are in church on Sunday. Even this Sunday, he put in our pledge for the month that we will be gone. We know people who think they're too busy or need a rest on Sunday, but John is equally busy and needs a rest, but he believes church comes first Sunday morning. When I met John, he usually slept all Sunday and seemed so surprised that I taught Sunday school every Sunday. Now he's the most staunch supporter. John is considering being president of the United World Federalists again. He feels there has never been a more important time than for us to strengthen the United Nations and have it solve the peace problems of the world. Naturally, we are very unhappy about the Vietnam War. John introduced our UN observer last week at a luncheon. We feel we should be solving the crises in our own cities. It's a tremendous job. I hope you're feeling better. God bless. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Pamela, Patty, and Peter. The Sheraton British Colonial Hotel, Nassau, Bahamas, March 25th, 1968. Dearest Mother, hi, here we are, and how we wish you had come. It is so lovely. We are about to take off in the seaplane over the lovely, clear Aqua Sea. We had dinner last evening by the water, overlooking the yachts with their lights shining in the water and the torches flaming around the pool. You should make the effort to come out with Mark on April 4th at 3:30 p.m. and come back to Cleveland with us. Before we left, I wondered if it could be worth the effort, but it certainly is. Gorgeous. Love, Ruth. Now, the next letters were originally published in Small Shaw Family Memories Collection, or SFMC, number 70, published on November 3rd, 2001. Cistern Key, Bahamas, March 26, 1968. Dear Mother and Dad, we are here. Now that we are, all the preparations and activities at home fade away. We are having breakfast on the porch with the sun shining on the water and the palms waving in the breeze. It was snowing when we left Cleveland. Our plane was delayed 2 hours in Miami. We had a lovely room at the British Colonial Hotel. It was part of the Ambassador Suite next to the Empire Suite that looked out over the harbor and swimming pool. The Onassis yacht was in the harbor, and we ate at the wharf room overlooking it all. It was really lovely with the torches and twinkling lights. I could have spent much more time at the straw market and shops, but John says I can have a couple more hours on the return trip. We got some groceries on the way to the island flying service, which is next to the airport. Our other supplies had not arrived, but when it got later, the pilot decided we should leave anyway. We taxied out the runway, but the plane wouldn't take off. A fuel pipe was clogged. We had dinner at the airport while repairs were being made. Then a pilot came to get us because he thought a squall was coming up. However, we arrived safe and sound with the sun shining. They will not fly out after 5:30 p.m., and if we had waited until Sunday, we would have had to put the meat, butter, eggs, and milk in their freezer. John says that if you would like to come down and out on the seaplane with Mark on April 5th at 3:30 p.m., that he will pay the extra $100 of your fare. You could come back to Cleveland with us. I will not be under any pressure when we come back. Although I have 2 luncheons at the yacht club, I'm not in charge of anything. The days before we left, I had 2 more calls, one to be program chairman or an anything job I wanted for the high school PTA, and also the Kensington PTA. John told me not to commit myself to anything until I felt better. Down here it all seems so far away, and is. As I sit here, the gorgeous aqua water seems almost unbelievably beautiful. It's very quiet without Mark and David. John caught a lot of fish for dinner last night. We hope that you are feeling better. I'm sure that the warm air and sunshine would do you good. John is conducting our Sunday services and Good Friday and Easter. A plane should be coming in today with our supplies so we can get some mail away. Peter seems to be enjoying everything so much. He could hardly wait to leave Nassau and couldn't see any sense in stopping there. The first day before we were up, he'd been down to the water, caught a lizard, but the tail came off and it got away. Climbed the high ridge and went down to the caves, where the pirates stored treasure. He's wonderful. Pamela had so many friends giving her farewell gifts, a lovely book, and chocolates. One boy wanted to walk home with her, but I took her to have her hair cut. Her friend Holly Dreger came to the house with a lovely book. She has written so many postcards, she's used up all our stamps. John says she has so much fire, and she certainly has. The bougainvillea is all blooming purple, cerise and lovely red flowers. The birds warbling, the blue sky. It's hard to believe it's the same snowy world we left. Take care, come if you can. John's folks retire next year and say they'll come then. We met Helen on her way to Florida. Happy Easter. Love, John, Ruth, Pamela, Patty, and Peter. Cistern Key, Bahamas, April 3rd, 1968. Dear Mother and Dad, we are looking forward to Mark's arrival by seaplane this afternoon and will hand the mail to the pilot to take back to Nassau. The last time the seaplane arrived was high adventure. The water was so low tide that the seaplane almost came up to the beach, and John and I waded out and pulled in the supplies through the water. Right now, John, Patty, Peter, Stephen, the caretaker, Mr. Brown, brother-in-law, Mrs. Ferguson, the cook's aunt who came on the plane from Nassau with us, who serves us our meals, have gone in Mr. Grant's boat to Norman's Key. They've been gone 4.5 hours, and I see whitecaps, so hope they're okay. They're back soaked. I picked up a cold on the way down, I guess, and have had or been on the verge of pneumonia, so it hasn't been much fun. Before I got sick, however, I had a great adventure. We were exploring the next lovely beach on 8 acres that John is considering buying. I climbed a ridge to consider it as a site for a house, to see if I could see the sunset in the ocean from there, and discovered old conch shells, crab shells, cactus, huge cactus, and an old stone house. The next day, Peter and I explored for hours, got lost, saw the ocean on the other side, and found another house. We speculate it may have been built by escaped slaves who built up there as a lookout all around. We found broken dishes. No one else knew of them, so I feel like an explorer. However, I've been coughing ever since, so grounded. It's almost unbelievable, the beauty here. The turquoise waters, white sand, azure sky, gentle sea air, and relaxed living. Merthelda just brought in some beautiful violet bougainvillea and is fixing fried chicken, homemade bread, and cherry pie for Mark's arrival. Mrs. Ferguson says, "Let us serve you," and they do. John conducted Sunday services for both families, and they asked for copies of our Lenten pamphlet, so he's a real missionary too. Merthelda was so pleased, and I brought Bible stories for her children. Our life in Rocky River seems so far away. John has caught lots of wonderful fish, and they've enjoyed the shelling and exploring. Even Peter was out to the reef and observed the fish underwater with his mask. Happy Easter! Love, John, Ruth, Mark, Pamela, Patty, and Peter. Cistern Key, Bahamas, April 21st, 1968. Dear Mother and Dad, how sad that we will soon be leaving this lovely spot, and how sad that you weren't here to enjoy it with us. When Mark's seaplane landed, I couldn't see the spot on the water, but I saw John and the caretaker go out to the boat and only 3 figures in it coming back. I think John, too, was disappointed. He'd asked if he should hand you the letter if you were on the plane. I think he'd like to have seen your expression upon landing in such a lovely place. Mark said it just didn't seem possible, like a dream, to have left medium spring weather in the morning and be out here by 4 o'clock p.m. Pamela kept saying, "You know, all this isn't real. That sky is just painted out there. And that blue water and palms are all just props. It's all just fake." It really is hard to believe. The man that owns the island and his wife, the millionaire, flew out the other day just for an hour to water the plants, came to see us while the seaplane waited in the water. They're from Winnetka, Illinois. I found the find of our 4 to 5 years of shelling, a rooster-tail conch. I found it over on the sandspit, and the Grants told us it was a find and rare, and the shell book says it's quite rare. Peter, Patty, and I have also learned to surface dive, down deep in the water, although not as deep as John, Mark, and Pamela, who could do it long ago. Mark said I was too old to learn, and John said that was all the incentive I needed. But it was good to have a challenge. Today we are out to Grandfather's Reef taking movies. It's so named because of the grandfather barracuda that lays out there, and sure enough, Mark and I saw him. The caretaker said my yellow bathing suit probably isn't a good idea. It tracks in the water. John was surrounded by kudu the other day. He's also speared 2 lovely lobster for us, and Pamela took a movie of him chased by a barracuda. Peter looks like a native boy diving under the water with his good tan. We had our Easter egg hunt on the beach, 4 dozen eggs. It certainly is gorgeous, and we hate to leave, but so fortunate to have had a month together here. Love, John, Ruth, Mark, Pamela, Patty, and Peter. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, May 7th, 1968. Dear Mother, I was glad to get your letter yesterday with the 2 enclosed to the Bahamas. Your first letter after we arrived home sounded as if there had been a missing chapter. Sorry that you felt bad to receive the letters back, but we do not look for nor expect mail down there. The Gregorys had written us last year and also had it returned. Even the order we sent out for more groceries did not get delivered, for we did not get our extra supplies. I guess that's why we like it so much. No earthly distractions, just pure paradise. I thought you might like to hear some further excerpts from our trip. Thursday, April 4th. Mark arrived just fine from Cleveland. We had news of President Lyndon Johnson's decision not to run for president. Possibly Hubert Humphrey will. John is pleased. He had written President Lyndon Johnson to choose Humphrey as vice president. John says he is pro-United World Federalist. Very sad news of Reverend Martin Luther King's assassination. Mark and Peter were up early Friday and to the dock for fishing. Merthelda fixed a big batch of pancakes and filled Mark. Sunday, April 7th. Palm Sunday service. Ham dinner about 5 o'clock p.m. Monday, April 8th. Beautiful day. Merthelda baked bread. We went over to the tide pools. Pamela made a chocolate pie. Tuesday, April 9th. A beautiful day today. A big trip all the way to the end of the island. Peter swam nude in the ocean. We all snorkeled to the reef and back. We went to bed at 8 o'clock p.m. Wednesday, April 9th. Another beautiful day. We climbed to the top of the ridge for a perfect view of the highest point all around the island. Remarkable. I made the Easter egg tree while the family walked to the dock. Beautiful moonlit night. Election day. PP gained 20 seats. Maundy, Thursday. The most beautiful, calm, sunny day imaginable. Bobby and Stephen were here, and we dyed 4 dozen eggs. Merthelda made 6 loaves of bread. Mark, Pamela, and John took underwater movies at Grandfather's Reef. Should be beautiful. Chased by many barracuda, including a 5-foot one. John speared a marvelous lobster for dinner. Stephen took us on a trip completely around the island. We snorkeled. John taught me to surface dive. Calm followed by furious rain about 5 p.m. The only rain we had didn't last long. Good Friday. After the service, we took Merthelda's family to the top of the ridge for the view. Then we went to the next beach and snorkeled later. Then we had the Easter egg hunt and Easter service and turkey dinner. Monday to the spit. I found the rooster tail conch rare. John speared another lobster. Friday, Mr. and Mrs. Grant flew out for a short while. Monday, April 22nd. Up at 7 o'clock a.m. Merthelda and Mrs. Ferguson fixed pancakes and bacon. The plane was loaded in the water off our beach at 9 o'clock. The most beautiful, calm, sunny day. Sad to leave. Circled the island for the last look at John's Beach, 9 acres. We went to the Nassau Straw Market. I bought 16 purses. To Miami and to Cleveland. Champagne and a good dinner. Sad, sad. I felt so guilty as we drove down Beechcliff. It's so pretty as we came back, all the flowering trees, forsythia and almond and narcissus and tulips out. When we arrived home, the phone was ringing to remind me of the PTA luncheon at the yacht club. And it's been so busy since we came back. I've had 2 luncheons at the yacht club and 1 each week coming back, but not nearly as much pressure as other years. Nan Gregory called the morning after we arrived and had us for a lovely dinner party and their movies of the Virgin Islands. Chick Strawbridge came from next door the night we got back. Stevie with an invitation for Peter to his birthday, and me for a dessert the next day. Mark was in an orchestra concert. John earned $3,500 the month while he was away, so that paid for the trip just fine. Mark's stocks had gone up so much that he'll have to file an income tax report of his own this year. We had his physical exam today for his trip to New Mexico this summer. Philmont Camp. Rugged hiking, strenuous activity with a heavy pack in rugged terrain at altitudes of 7,000 to 12,000 feet. John got rheumatic fever when he went, so the doctor gave me a prescription for penicillin for Mark to take along. His report card is fine, mostly A's and O's for outstanding, 3 accelerated courses. Patty had her Stanford Achievement Test results, 99th percentile in 8 subjects, highest on the graph, 197 and the lowest 95 percentile. The 99 percentile is a grade level of 9.5 and her lowest grade level was 7.7, and she's in the 4th grade. The average in Rocky River is 40 to 60 percentile, which is much higher than the national average. Her teacher, who was also Mark's, was nice enough to tell me, and also told John the next day, that if she were to choose ideal parents in Rocky River, she would choose us. Peter's birthday is Saturday, and he wants a surprise party to awaken and have all his friends surprise him and have them all stay for breakfast. I think we'll try for lunch. He had an accident the day after we got back and has had nosebleeds. His friend's foot slipped on the bars at school and kicked him in the nose. After his party, we are having a cocktail party and then going to a lovely formal ball, composer's showcase. We're having the mayor of Lakewood here, Shar and Don McQuilkin, as we'll all be at the same table. One of our friends, John's friend for a long time, we went to their dinner party and swimming pool party the day we got back from Canada last year. John had lunch Monday with him. Their 20-year-old son, a medic, had just arrived in Vietnam. The next day he was killed. He had been there 2 weeks. We are going to his memorial service tomorrow. How sad. I was over in the Huff area today teaching speech and took some lilacs. The dogwood are in full bloom. It's been a beautiful spring. How nice of Chris to encourage you to come east. Do you think you might? What dates in August? We have been talking about planning a trip to the ocean, so would like to know in case there's a possibility you might come. We certainly missed Bud last summer. I miss the ocean since we've been back. Patty also had her physical today, a revaccination. She's 5 feet and Mark is 6. He had tetanus shots. Pamela has also been working so hard since we returned and while we were down there and is getting fine grades. The other day she said, Mark and Patty are probably smarter than I am, but it's not what you've got. It's what you do with it that counts. And she's a real worker. Peter brought a hermit crab, 3 crabs back. One is in the parakeet cage. I have to get working on Peter's surprise party for 10 little boys and our cocktail party. We have our underwater movies back and they're very good. Good night. I do wish you'd get some sun for your cough and tiredness. It cured me. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, May 27, 1968. Dear Mother and Dad, usually I am too busy to notice whether we get any mail or not, but for some reason I had the strongest feeling that I wanted to hear from you and that you wanted to talk to me. I'm so sorry to hear what it is. I knew when I went to the mailbox that there would be a letter. I do hope that Dad has apologized and told them that he is sorry and asked to be reinstated, at least until January. I'm sure that if they realize that he only has until January to complete his 25 years for a small pension, that they might take that into consideration. I'm sure that he is sorry, and although it is difficult to apologize, it would be worth it to have some income. When I mentioned it to John, he said that it seemed like the logical thing to do, and was sure that it must have occurred to Dad to do it. They could probably consider the weeks away as his vacation. He certainly should try it. No, Mark does not have to pay income tax. He has to report and file an income tax return. The money is for his college fund. Within 3 to 4 years, we will have 2 children in college at the same time, and the costs run about $4,000 a year, so we'll have a running expense for Mark and Pamela of about $8,000 a year, and then we'll have Patty and Peter, so for about 10 years we'll have 2 or 3 in college at a time. So I started John on a savings plan for that, and he's been investing the money for them. He just bought his investment club's Cedar Point stock for Mark and Pamela. John is at a Board of Education meeting tonight. They are so late, and he is in trial in court tomorrow. Today he got a verdict of a custody case that has taken 2 years for him to get, but the woman got her 2 children, and when John called her, she was so overwhelmed she couldn't talk. Tomorrow I'm going to the Huff Colored Area School for a school program, and in the afternoon to a luncheon for the junior high PTA board, and Wednesday having Peter and Patty's teachers here for lunch. In the evening, John's folks are coming for the school orchestra program. Pamela in junior high and Mark in the senior high orchestras. The girls have invited Lisa and Kathy to come and stay overnight and for Memorial Day. Yes, we had a letter that Bud will be here next weekend. It's Oberlin commencement weekend. I don't know if we'll go to see the illumination and lanterns or not. It will be Bud's almost 40th birthday, too. We have movies of him blowing out his 39th candles. Last Saturday we had 10 folks for dinner and movies. The Gregorys Christiansens. Remember we met them at the inn one Sunday. The Bakers and Dr. and Mrs. Wiley just back from Hong Kong. Yes, I had a surprise birthday for Peter for lunch. 10 little boys, a real wild group. And exhausting, and 2 hours after they left, I had a cocktail party before we went to the formal dinner dance. So we've been busy. I've been going to a luncheon a week and have a couple more to go. Do you plan to visit Chris at all or not? John said that if we want to make any vacation plans for August, that we'd better before it's too late. I'm sure the Michigan place, Helen Lacey's, is probably rented by now. I'd like to go to the ocean again as I miss it. So we would like to know your plans, if any, so that we don't miss you. I washed the kitchen walls last Monday, and the week before Mrs. Friedrich and I did the recreation room. And before that, we tore Mark's room up, vacuumed the mattresses, and washed the walls. Did the living and dining room radiators and woodwork. Always lots to keep busy. Our dogwood are just now going, and the pink ones were like saucers and so pretty out Pamela's window, just a mass. Now the rhododendron are out and so big and full, about 30 on the lilac one by the front door, and a fuchsia-colored one on the other side. The bright pink azalea are also out in front. The lilacs were wonderful, too, this year, and just going now. Mark pitched 4 innings in the high school baseball game, and Saturday he hiked 12 miles with a 30-pound load to prepare for his New Mexico trip. He's doing such a good job on the yard and a big help to John. John's mother phoned and said, "Ruth, he's such a fine boy, such a fine young man." She really enjoyed helping him here. I guess I told you that we got him a set of golf clubs and Peter an Indian teepee. We certainly are so sorry that you're having such a difficult time, so disappointing. We do hope that Dad can get himself reinstated. John does not plan to retire ever, if he can help it, but work as long as he can and take lots of vacations so he can stand the pressure of the work. We certainly do wish you both well and that things can be rectified. Love, Ruth. P.S. Please send John's article back. To be continued. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.